It's annoying when you work for years trying to summarize a particular situation and someone comes along and summarizes it in a split second, but that's what happened. There's a guy named Tom Fishbeck, and he is explaining why Trump triumphed and a major reason why he thinks the Trump phenomenon will continue unstoppable. I'm not so sure about that, but he does have a good summary, and I thought I'd read it to you, which you shouldn't do, but I'm going to do it anyway. As crude, rude, and confrontational as he is, President Trump's policies and his tone speak on behalf of the majority of Americans oppressed, ignored, and, I like to emphasize this, disrespected by the elitists who run or try to run our country. The elitists he feels, or I feel rather, the elitists think that they are smarter, better people than we are. I think they are wrong. The bigotry and condescension in Washington, Hollywood, Wall Street, the universities especially, the music industry, and on, the establishment media, and essentially every influential elite in our culture has deeply insulted, offended, and harmed the masses of people in this country. I think he's absolutely right. Above all else, they have insulted us. They have taken away our cultural capital. We used to feel, I think, comfort, confidence in our country that used to bring us joy knowing that we are Americans and that we are a good people that try to do good in the world. Not always succeeding, but trying, trying, trying. We, the American people, are told that no, we are racist, we are sexist, we are Americans, which is not a good thing. And all of this has caused us to feel uneasy, to lose the comfort, the confidence, and yes, the joy that we had from being Americans. The vast majority of Americans, I think, and many people think, and most people thought a few years ago, we're pretty good people. If we are racist, we are certainly one of the least racist countries in the world in the history of the world. We are a good place for the poor, to get on the poor, for minorities, for immigrants, for just about anyone. But lately we are told that we're racist, that we act badly toward minorities, which is surprising since so many minorities want to come here from places where they are the majority. We are told that we are too mean to everyone, to minorities, to immigrants, drug addicts, ex-cons, the environment, animals, and so on and so on and so on. And this message has been passed on to our children who go away to college with one set of attitudes and come back thinking the United States is some sort of horror show. This is very annoying, especially since we have to pay people to insult us and our children. The elites basically say that we are racist. I believe that basically we are not racist. Perhaps there is some racists left, but we are certainly the least racist country in the world. The average American is fed up, but he doesn't know where to go for comfort, for change. And so he goes to whoever offers themselves up as the savior for those people who think America is a great country and it's a good thing to be an American. He goes to people like Trump. Now, some people in my neighborhood, knowing that I've been going to college, say, is this the best time to increase the number of refugees, the number of immigrants? And I say, hell no. You hear a figure of 11 million, but it's more likely that there are 22 million people in the country illegally. And if they each invite in their mother and father and no one else, you're up to 66 million people. That's a lot of people. Is this a good time? Last week we lost 1 million jobs. We've been losing millions of jobs now for a couple of months, about 10 months so far. Wages are declining. Unemployment is increasing. People are hungry and are having trouble getting enough food to eat, having trouble finding jobs. They're having trouble funding their schools. Is this the right time to bring in more and more people? Some people say yes, but I'd say it's a little bit of fake news. They don't tell us that, for example, when you bring in people who don't speak English and you have to teach them English, that costs money. It costs a lot of money if you do it in schools. That these people were often poor, uneducated, unskilled, and so either have to be supported by welfare, or if they can do the job somewhat, they then present competition for the people who are citizens. You know those folks, the folks whose grandfathers fought and died on Iwo Jima, and now their grandchildren would like a job, would like the taxes reduced, would like to be doing at least as well as immigrants who come in the country, but they are not, and they won't be. The 22 million people who are here illegally, once they become citizens, and often before they become citizens, will not only cost the nation a lot of money, but they will be privileged. Someone who comes from South America, someone who comes from Africa, when they come here and when they become citizens, they will have scholarships up the wazoo. There's no such thing as a scholarship for being white. There's no such thing, with a few exceptions, a scholarship for losing both your legs fighting in Afghanistan. The cost of students who come from other countries is rather astonishing. In New York, in New Jersey, the cost of a student is around $18,000 per student. But if you are a member of a minority group that lives in a poor area, we will spend another $10,000 for a total of $28,000 on you. For the kid whose father died fighting for this country, zero, zip. This strikes some people as evil, as bizarre, as grotesque. It strikes me that way, that's for sure. There are so many scholarships for people who don't do well in school. If you do well in school, for example, you're Jewish or you're Asian, there's nothing. But if you do poorly, there's a lot of money available. There are all sorts of scholarships, some by professional organizations. You may not realize this, but the American Chemical Association has scholarships. The political sciences departments have scholarships. There are scholarships, scholarships, scholarships. Except if you are an average middle-class white kid who's just worked his guts out. No scholarships for you. It seems that not only are people being taken advantage of, but they are being insulted and injured over and over and over again, and they are tired, and they can find no relief except from people like Trump. If you don't like Trump, then offer up someone else who will do something good for the average American middle-class white person. Here's more fake news. Again, most of the fake news is not exactly what Trump talked about. It is things that are not mentioned. For example, Rashida Tlaib of Michigan, a representative in Michigan, called Israel a racist state that was denying vaccinations to Palestinians like her grandmother who lives in the West Bank. There is no more kindly group, nation in the world than Israel. They're dealing with people who have said for 80 years now, we want to commit genocide against you, wipe you out and take over your land. And in spite of that, the Israelis take care of these people. They send in tons and tons and tons of all sorts of food, of building material, of medicines. And what do they get for that? They get to be lied about by a U.S. representative. But Is there no one who will point this out? Yes, but they won't get on the air. They're not going to interview me about this. They're not going to interview Ming about this. Here's another young person who's just become a congressman, and these numbers are growing. Jamal Bowman, freshman congressman from New York. He says, Israel is cruel in failing to provide the vaccine to Palestinians. Israel supplies everything to the Palestinians. They do operations on these people. Even the terrorists, if they have a mother, and they do, will send their mother to Israel for operations. And yet these bizarre, grotesque lies are not challenged by anyone. And if they are challenged, they are not in the news. And basically, for most people, let's face it, if it's not in the news, it doesn't exist. We're all like that now. We're all subject to the newscast. Here are some other facts about immigration. And by the way, there will be a major address tomorrow by the president. He stopped the construction on the Mexican border wall. He's going to give citizenship to what he says are 11 million illegal immigrants. It's not 11 million, it's 22 million. But no one in the news will challenge it or just examine this number. Is it true? It's false. Maybe it's wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong before. You've been wrong before. Let's take a look at it. But there won't be no taking a look at this. Those who are on the wrong side of this issue are deemed racist. And a lot of people seem, it stops them from speaking up. And it probably should. They're safer if they don't speak up. In addition, this whole idea of the actions taken by Biden undermine the entire concept of citizens. First of all, to be a citizen, you need a citizen of something. The whole concept of a nation requires the concept of borders, of going through some sort of ritual, some sort of analysis, some sort of effort to become a citizen. That's how you have nations. What these people have done now, the Biden people, have taken a wrecking ball to the concept of citizenship. The bargain of duties and rights that exists only between a government and its country's citizens. That's what citizenship means. You get and you give. But that concept is no longer in practice in this country, or it is less practice than it should be. This aggravates a lot of people. It aggravates the hell out of military veterans, but no attention is paid to them. The ruling class in America, those who went to the Ivy League schools, those who made a fortune, those who are commentators on television on 99% of the shows, they dominate the world. They dominate the media, and they don't think much of us. I plan to reciprocate by not thinking much of them. Trump was the first person who pointed all of this out. His continuous insulting of American citizens, his continuous insulting of American veterans. There are people who sit in wheelchairs all day long because they've lost their right and their left legs, fighting for this country, sacrificing this country. But because they are whites, there's no scholarships for them. There's no lower standards for them. When they go to college, what do? They sit in classrooms where the people who probably aren't veterans insult them and insult them. It's a wonder we haven't had a great deal of violence before this. We are worse off than before Trump. Trump might be gone, said this gentleman, but the desire of millions of people for respect, for power, has not. Many Americans may spit out the medicine sooner than the elites realize. And now our universities on an annual check on nuttiness in our university, except it's more than nuttiness, it's more serious than this. But I don't think you can take all of it at once. So let me read some of the things that have been happening in our universities. Here's a dean at the University of Massachusetts, a good school. He was fired after sending an email to students using the phrase, "Everyone's life matters." That's it, he's gone. What is wrong with everyone's life matters? I thought that was the Christian ideal. I thought it's a good thing. But people objected when he said everyone's life matters, and he was let go, fired. Here's another case, the University of North Texas. Nathaniel Hires, Hires, was fired by the University of North Texas after he made a joke regarding microaggressions. You can't, this place is turning into a strange sort of freedom moonscape where people have to watch every word and they're tired of it. And they're tired of persons like this person who just told a joke. You know what this reminds me of? If you've ever read The Kite Runner, which is a novel about life in Pakistan under the Taliban, you see what's happening. The main thing about the Taliban is one the Pakistanians said is they won't let you breathe. Not only can we be proud, we can't even act like human beings. Here's another one. During a diversity Zoom meeting, and there are many, students and professors at West Virginia University were outraged to see their university police chief had a thin blue line flag in the background. This is a flag that honors policemen. He apologized. He's offered to take down the flag, but they wanted him resigned or fired. I'll try and keep you up to date as we see what happens with him. Here's another thing. This sounds like a bad joke. Manhattan University president Patricia Simon was accused of falling asleep during an anti-racist Zoom event. You know, during the Soviet Union period when Stalin gave a talk, people kept clacking and clapping and clapping for hours. And finally, they had to develop a system of ringing a little bell that told people they could stop clapping. And now we have picked up these strange, grotesque policies. I don't know about other people, but I didn't serve in the U.S. military to end up with I don't know, what is the term for a nutty totalitarian system? Here, she has an excuse, by the way. This was a Zoom event. If you ever attended them, they tend to bring about sleep. A petition for calling for her to be fired garnered more than 2,000 signatures. Simon claimed she never fell asleep, and the picture was taken without permission. When I was looking down or briefly resting my Zoom-weary eyes with my head tilted back, to see my computer screen through my trifocal progressive lenses. I guess it looks something like that. Here's another one. A Cornell University a Cornell University professor said he was targeted by his colleagues for not supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. In 2 opinion editorials, he explained how Black Lives Matter was created. It was created by racists, nasty racists, also anti-Semitic racists. In the group's progressive agenda, this caused tremendous faculty members to be upset and express their outrage, calling for him to be fired. Here's a school in South Carolina, Winthrop University in South Carolina. A retiring dean was accused of being a white supremacist. What did he do? He criticized his school in China over COVID-19. He expressed in a column his thoughts on the virus in China, probably saying that they were responsible for spreading this, or at least originating it. Students and faculty reacted angrily, calling the op-ed person xenophobic and calling for him to be punished. Unfortunately, this list could go on and on and on. I don't know if we're becoming a vicious country or a silly country, but something is happening. Here's another professor, Norman Wang, University of Pittsburgh. A very good school, by the way. He lost his title of program director of an important medical fellowship after writing in an academic journal that race should not be considered when determining entry into the school, that they should do it on something crazy like merit. I just assumed that sooner or later people will fall down laughing, but so far not. Ohio State employs more than 100 diversity workers, 100 diversity workers, but that's okay. This is the worst part. It costs $10 million a year. If you're trying to help a poor black kid, wouldn't you be better off giving him a full scholarship? You could give him away 200. If you made it just academics, 400 scholarships. Would that not help a black kid more? Because it would allow him to go to school and get an education and do better in life and help his community. Wouldn't that do better than hiring diversity workers? What the hell is a diversity workers? Whatever the hell they do, it can't be as good as just giving a poor kid some money so they can go to school. But so far, no one agrees with me. I'm done. It's snowing. I'm working with a friend here I like a great deal, but it doesn't make up for the stupidity of what's going on in college campuses that become sort of weird Disney worlds. Anyway, I'm going to go away. I'm going to get something to eat, but I'm going to be back next week, and I expect answers.